Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I am the Crypto Crow, and today we're going to talk a little bit about, is Cardano a security? Because, I mean, the question just has to be asked over and over and over. I posted recently on my Twitter where I retweeted what Charles had to say about it and how he broke down everything that happened in Japan, how like basically nothing happened with US investors until like 2 years after they did this kind of voucher offering in Japan, in Japanese for Bitcoin, all of this stuff. Basically, like, any claim that the SEC has made regarding Cardano being a security is kind of a moot. It's bunk. Basically, it's a reaching claim that has really no merit or no base in reality for whatever reason. That's based off of everything that I've been seeing. Morgan, this is basically an opinion from a lawyer in Australia who's apparently a pro-crypto attorney. Morgan compared the development of cryptocurrencies to that of smartphones. Fagel disagreed, saying that crypto is being traded exactly like any other security. It doesn't matter how things are being traded. Baseball cards are too. Pro-crypto Australian lawyer Bill Morgan has criticized the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission for classifying Cardano's native cryptocurrency ADA as a security. Now, I was trying to do some reading about this Bill Morgan. I don't know if there's more than one. The only one I found was like a 20-year, looked like a family attorney. So, I don't know who this guy is. Let's just put that into context. 2 days ago, Morgan took to Twitter to express his doubts, questioning the regulator's reasoning behind this assertion. Morgan compared the development of cryptocurrencies to the evolution of smartphones. He contended that when developers introduce updates and disclose information about their products' qualities, it is only an attempt to remain competitive and increase sales. So a blockchain is no different. Morgan pointed out that the SEC, however, seems to consider these efforts differently when it comes to cryptocurrencies like Cardano. The SEC considers ADA under the securities law, while smartphone manufacturers are outside of the SEC's such assumptions. Mark Fagel, a securities lawyer, however, asked if there were 30 secondary market exchanges where smartphones are listed for other investors to buy for investment opportunities. Crypto is, in fact, being traded exactly like any security, and it's not a clear-cut issue. No, it's not a clear-cut issue. He's right about that. Morgan then acquiesced that cryptocurrency does resemble the function of security when it is traded. Crypto, not a security under statutory definition, Morgan claims. Morgan has been tweeting about the issue for the past few days since the SEC classified ADA as a security in its lawsuit. Morgan later responded to Fagel on Twitter, stating that ADA is deemed a security by the SEC as per the lawsuit, particularly since the initial coin offering. He opined that ADA tokens being offered on overseas ICOs lie outside the purview of the SEC, as overseas ICOs are beyond the reach of the Securities Act. That's the whole point. Whatever kind of offering they did was in Japan, written in Japanese. It wasn't for U.S. investors whatsoever, and it didn't even hit the States until 2 years later. And since then, it's become one of the most decentralized blockchains out there. So, based off of all of the previous guidance or opinions that have been distributed by various people at the SEC, by all accounts, Cardano should not really, in my opinion, which means nothing because I'm not a lawyer and I don't work for the SEC. I'm just some old dude on the web, but there's really nothing that points to Cardano as being. Here's the thing. If Cardano were to somehow actually be classified as an actual security, so would everything else in the market. And it's just not the case. I don't see how those sales fall under the definition of an investment contract under the Securities Act because the act does not apply to the ICO. They are not domestic transactions. According to Morgan, while stock is inherently a security by statutory definition, crypto is not a recognized category of a security by statutory definition. ADA has lost over 25% of its value since the SEC enforcement action last Monday. The token, however, seemed to recover over the weekend. It's currently trading at about 28 cents. So, this is just one little bit, tit for tat debate over whether or not Cardano's a security. I just don't. I don't see the argument, and I haven't seen the argument. Nothing that I've seen has pointed to Cardano being a security. There's been no question. The SEC has never gone directly after Cardano for being a security. It's just named a handful of the most popular cryptocurrencies as it helps them go after Binance. And that's what I really believe. And I believe once the dust is settled from a lot of this action going on between Coinbase, which is a completely different action entirely, I think when the dust is settled and the smoke is cleared, everything's going to be fine. I just think that they really want Binance, and they want Binance out of the picture. And to be quite honest, I think in due time, the SEC is likely, in my opinion, going to favor Coinbase quite a bit, because if you're, at the same time, maybe not, because if I've talked about Onyx, JP Morgan's investment trading vehicle, where you're able to basically trade any kind of asset, including data, on their platform. This is something they've been building since 2020, folks. So, if this is kind of a good old boys type situation where, they're using the SEC to try and get rid of any potential competition for these more kind of like, I guess you could call them internal platforms, then, that's what it is. There's nothing I don't think anybody's going to be able to do about that other than Congress. And ultimately, that's going to be a decision for them. So we're going to have to let that play out. But ultimately, I don't feel like I'm just not concerned, honestly. I'm not concerned with any of this stuff as it relates to Cardano. I'm not even really worried about it as it relates to like Polygon, Matic, and some of the others, even though I'm not as well versed in those other blockchains the way I am Cardano. So listen, time will tell. But ultimately, even if somehow it were holding it and being able to trade it, if anything, maybe they force you to trade it into CBDC someday when you sell out in 2025 or whenever, the next peak, or they force you into like a Fed now so that they can monitor your activity and make sure you're not fudging your taxes. I mean, realistically, one way or another, we're going to have exit and on ramps. Okay. And I think that's one of the biggest concerns people have. Oh my gosh, what if all these are securities? I have a whole bunch of them. How am I ever going to sell them if it does go up in price? There's going to be vehicles for that. I'm really not all that concerned. I think right now it's all about sentiment, and given where we're at in the market. Listen, my video that I did a couple weeks ago about Cardano potentially hitting 17 cents or between 17, 20, 21 cents, which I think it did wick all the way down to 21 cents. So that hit, it wasn't even based on any of this. It was just based off of where we are in the market cycle and based off of price action of previous cycles. This wasn't a surprise. We just had an actual catalyst that drove the price action where it went, and it's already starting to recover a bit. Maybe it goes back down. Maybe we do hit 17 cents. Cool. I'm ready to buy in more. I'm fine with that. In the grand scheme of things, I'm buying the technology. I'm buying what its use cases are. I'm buying what I believe I'm going to be able to do utilizing the Cardano blockchain in the future, as much as I am hopeful that just the ecosystem continues to flourish as it has been. And I'm not, let the weak hands get rubbed out of the equation. That's entirely up to them. You have to do what's best for you. Don't take unnecessary risks that you can't afford to take. Now, granted, if something happened and Cardano just blew up and just, I don't know, something bad really happened, and it wasn't just some kind of like, I don't know, in my opinion, like a form of rhetoric to try and help make a legal case against somebody else, I'd be hurt. I mean, I hold a decent amount of Cardano. So, but at the same time, you have to understand this administration wants your tax dollars, folks. And if the United States is doing well in crypto investing, that means that we're basically taking money from other people in other parts of the world. And if you don't think that this administration really wants those tax dollars, they do. And I think ultimately they want to make sure that they have a better means of tracking who owes them those tax dollars. And I think a big part of that does play a role into who you're on-ramping and off-ramping with. And so we're going to have to find out how that transpires over the coming year or two. But yeah, I'm not worried. I think ultimately it's going to work itself out. And I think Cardano will be just fine. Until next time, crow your coins, and I'll see you soon.